Do you describe yourself as a landlord or a real estate investor? Is there a difference, and if so, why does it matter? We're going to talk about that right now. What's going on, everybody? My name is Andrew, and today I want to discuss with you the differences between being a landlord versus being a real estate investor, and hopefully answer the question, which one are you? Now, before we get into the topic, I just want to remind everyone that if you're interested in real estate investing, be sure to join our Property Hustlers team, as we will be soon hosting monthly events for real estate investors in Ontario. And if you have any questions or need any kind of real estate related help, I'm going to leave a number right here. Feel free to text us, call us, and we'll be sure to connect back with you. Now, the primary commonality between both a landlord and a real estate investor is that they both own property, and it's generally understood that a landlord can be a real estate investor and an investor can be a landlord. So then why is it important to understand the difference, and can you not just be both?
I can do both.
Knowing what it means to be a landlord versus a real estate investor will tell you whether or not you are achieving your real estate related goals. And while many of us are familiar with what it means to be wearing various different hats in real estate or in business, you want to be clear on where it is you're going. The main differences between a landlord and an investor is that being a landlord is more like a job, whereas being an investor is considerably more hands-off and supposedly more passive by definition. Investors make money work for them and they don't work for their money, whereas landlords are a little too largely more involved in the general operations of their rental properties, which is a lot more like a job. When landlords work, they conserve money. When investors work, they spend money. Landlords work to care for their properties, whereas investors make sure that their properties are working for them passively. Landlords will typically focus inwards so that they become a little leaner in their operation, often allowing them to optimize rental income, savings, and allowing them to maybe quit their jobs a little early until they have enough equity in their rental property or until they have enough rental income so that they can scale up. Whereas investors are going to be leveraging other people to build up. The most common scenario for investors is that they will keep their day job, hire a property manager, hire trades, hire everything else that they can so that they can focus on their careers and their next real estate acquisition. Which isn't to say that any one is better than the other, nor am I trying to say that you can't be both for a period of time. It just depends on what you're trying to do, and you really ought to maintain some degree of clarity. The most common goal I hear people tell me when they're getting into real estate is that they want to amass enough rental properties so that they can live comfortably through their rental income. So it sounds like they want to become landlords. But when it comes to introducing themselves to new people, it is my experience that a lot of landlords will introduce themselves as real estate investors, but not a lot of investors will introduce themselves as landlords.
I don't know if I'm a real estate investor.
And generally speaking, I find that this is because being a landlord isn't commonly viewed as a profession per se, as much as is being an investor. But if someone introduces themselves to you as a real estate investor, does anything about that statement tell you what it is they do on a day-to-day basis? Probably not, but it sounds pretty sophisticated, doesn't it? So people end up using these titles a little bit interchangeably and slowly start to lose perspective as to what it means to be either. And this is where I think a lot of people lose their way in the real estate investing journey. And that's why I think you have landlords, developers, contractors flipping houses, wholesalers, all these people calling themselves real estate investors, but really they're just in the real estate field. They're not primarily real estate investors. They are primarily self-employed business entrepreneurs operating in the real estate field. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with anyone saying that they're a real estate investor, except that more often than not, it misleads others. And more importantly, it often misleads one's own self from understanding who you are, what you're doing, and where you're going. Just take a moment and imagine if I'm sitting here telling you that I'm a real estate investor, and we start talking real estate deals on a high-level collaboration topic, and midway through our conversation, my tenant calls me to tell me about a clogged toilet. And then you hear me say, yeah, I'll be right over to fix that. Something about this picture just isn't right. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with going to fix a toilet if you know how to do it. You're probably gonna save $400 to $600 and maybe just 2 hours of work. But there is always an opportunity cost where it has now disrupted your real estate talks. That takes you away from that investor's mindset. If you are both a landlord and an investor, whatever it is that you're doing more of, there is a strong possibility that this will likely become your eventual line of work. And that's because the daily work of landlording will hold you back from your investing, and the daily work of investing is going to take you back from your landlording. The minute you want to grow a little bit or scale, one is going to pull you away from the other. You need to start separating the two in your mind because they're not the same. There is a general rule that I'd like to follow, which is that if you're thinking, you shouldn't be doing, and if you're doing, you shouldn't be thinking too much. And that is because doing gets paid now, which is a lot of landlording stuff, and the thinking stuff gets paid later, which is a lot of the investor type work. The biggest problem I see happen is a lot of people who set out to become real estate investors actually end up falling into being a landlord kind of by accident. And being a landlord often ends up becoming synonymous with being a property manager, something that you were supposed to hire out but failed to do so, either due to some financial restrictions or an inability to relinquish control.
Must you control everything?
And then these people are out there calling themselves real estate investors, but in reality, they're too busy doing property management work to look for their next real estate investment opportunity. And again, this has nothing to do with how one likes to present themselves. Go ahead, present yourself however it is you want. That's not the point. The point is, if you actually believe that this is the final vision of what you're supposed to become as a real estate investor, you have something to think about. Generally speaking, people find it ends up being too difficult for them to work their day job, manage their rental properties, find new investment opportunities, and that doesn't even include more essential things like having a life, family time, social time, alone time. There is definitely a period of time that someone's going to need to grow into something. If let's say you want to grow into real estate investing, but if you know you want to be an investor, it largely has to do with how you operate your business. Whether it's flipping, landlording, developing, or whatever, rather than just buying a property, then giving yourself a job that you can't get out of. Unless that job is something that you want, that pushes your real estate investing forward. Just don't get stuck thinking that you become a real estate investor when really you're just stuck in a job that you don't like. So I hope this gives a little bit extra perspective on what the differences are between being a landlord or a real estate investor. But please, I do want to know, what do you think about this? Because I want to know how you're going about your real estate investing journey. Are you doing landlording, real estate investing, or both together? Tell me about how your experiences are. If you have any questions, anything real estate related, we're always happy to talk. So be sure to contact us. We're going to leave some information about us in the description below. So make sure to comment, and as always, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you on the next one.